Hey everyone, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com, and I'm here today with a project update video for this 1/6 scale, vintage Armortek, early production German Tiger 1. Like I mentioned in the previous video, the tank detail-wise is fully completed and is now ready for painting. However, before I go ahead and get into its painting processes, I'm going to take the tank for one last test drive to make sure that all the functions are working properly, and more specifically to make sure that the suspension is at the correct tension. It has been a while since I've taken this tank on a test drive. The last time this model was test driven was when the motors and the electronics were first installed, and this was back way before I got to work on the upper hull or even the turret. Since the filming of that video, the model's weight has increased significantly due to the weight of the other components, namely that of the turret and the upper hull, as they are quite substantial in weight and do add a factor to the tank's suspension and running gear. Now, just before filming of this video, I did take the tank for a very quick test drive, and the track tension has been adjusted. The track tension before was too slack, and this was of course due to the extra weight of the turret. I went ahead and tightened the idlers via the idler mounts in the back that are adjustable. Just like on the real Tiger 1, you remove those two red caps, and then with an Allen wrench you could go ahead and adjust the tension. The tension was adjusted to the way you see it here. And let's go ahead and take the tank out to see if that track tension now is where it should be. In addition to testing out the tension, let's go ahead and get the other functions working as well. Like I said in the previous video, the control panel is located under the radio operator's hatch, and everything has been marked. I'm going to test the smoke, the fans. The lights are already set to be on, and the refuel doesn't need to be touched, as that's only used to refill the system when the fluid's running low. To turn on the power, of course, this is done by the driver's hatch, and it's one button that controls all the power. Before I do that, I'm going to first turn on the radio. There we go, make it stop beeping. And I'm going to turn on the tank. Oh, just before I go ahead and turn on the tank, the radio needs to be fine-tuned for use on the model. What this entails is that the function or the channel for this sprocket here needed to be reversed. When you build these Armorteks out of the box, the way the electronics plug into the radio, with the radio set as default, the sprocket on this side of the tank will run in reverse, and this needs to be adjusted via the radio. Another very important adjustment to set on these radios is that of the failsafe. This being a radio for that of model airplanes, these radios have a failsafe built in to when, if the battery or if the signal from the radio gets interrupted, the throttle goes on full on the motor in order to keep the plane in the air, so that when radio signal is reconnected, the plane could regain control and you could fly it further. Unfortunately for a tank, if the battery starts getting a little low on the radio, or if you interpret a interruption with the frequency, the failsafe will kick in, and this sprocket here will just run at full throttle without any control. This is obviously a big issue and can definitely lead to a lot of problems, namely that of damage to not only the tank, the sprocket, maybe even the running gear, but also to other items or obstacles in the tank's way. So it's definitely something to take care of when you are programming one of these radios for one of these large-scale tanks in general. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and turn the radio on again. And I'm going to turn on the tank. And I'm now going to start up the sound system. As you can see, the lights are on. I'll leave them off as it's daytime. There's no point to drive them with the lights on at this time. Puffing away. Now I'll puff away more as I throttle up the tank. The fans are also working, however, it is a little tricky to see with this lighting situation that I have here. The gun is elevating and depressing. Turret is rotating, as well as the bow machine gun is rotating as well. as you can see, one recurring feature is that the escape hatch wants to open up during the tank's operation. I've seen this happen to several other Armortek builds, and it's not unique to this one. However, it is something that's problematic. Specifically, once it's in the open state like this, you can't rotate the turret, as the hatch will lock up against the grill work or even on some of the other fittings on the hull, causing to some serious issues. So it is something to keep in mind. Having said that, I'm going to go ahead and stiffen up the recesses with that of epoxies and adhesives after the filming of this video to make sure that this doesn't happen, or to mitigate it as much as possible in the future. Like I said before, you have to get access to this location here in order to arm the blank system, so gluing the hatch permanently shut is not going to be an option for this build. With the hatch now closed up for now, let's go ahead and continue with the test run. Okay, as you can see, the tank performed very well with this test run. The test run was basically a success. The track's tension is pretty close to being where it needs to be. Perhaps I'll tighten it just a little bit further from the way you see it in this video. As for the running, the tank performed perfectly on the paved surface, and it did run very well on the off-road terrain. Now, it's important to point out that the off-road terrain is very muddy due to the rains that we've had, but in addition to the mud, which you can see it's all caked up into the track area, but also in addition to the mud, the ground is also very icy, as it is very cold right now where I'm filming. So you have mud with ice, with everything thawing, creating a big soup, which is actually very difficult for many RC tanks to run in. The tank here performed admirably in both terrains, in my opinion. With the performance that I was able to get out of the model, the tank will now be driven up back onto the lift, the tracks will be removed, and then everything will go into its painting. Of course, the tracks will need to be hosed and washed down, as there's no way I'm going to be able to paint them with all this debris caked onto the tracks. But more information on that is to follow in the next video update. And with that, that concludes this project update video for this 1/6 scale vintage Armortek radio-controlled early production German Tiger 1. If you like this video, stop by and like us on Facebook, where there are more photographs of this build that have been posted all the way since the start of the project. There you'll also find many of the other builds that have been built and posted throughout the years. In addition to that, don't forget to swing by eastcoastarmory.com for more 1/6 and 1/16 scale builds and detail components. Thanks for watching.